Allied forces have certainly captured a zone. Anyhow, welcome back to War Thunder. Sorry I haven't uploaded recently. There's been a slurry of just personal and other reasonings for not wanting to upload. Anyhow, today's video is specifically about temporary restrictions for decals and new players, or also talking about the whole disabling of in-game chat and the fiasco that has caused. Do you guys feel like War Thunder's soul has been lost by the removal of the chat feature? Being able to effectively communicate with your teammates, even if it's good or for bad, was generally part of the game's structure, and I understand why they removed them. Obviously, we are not exactly all saints, are we? It just goes to prove that sometimes you can't have it all, and with the new restrictions coming into place with countries specifically prohibiting certain symbols from appearing in video games, it's no wonder why Gaijin has had to take a interesting stance regarding, well, do they keep the games operational in those countries, or do they shut down the game completely? And I think to counteract this is exactly what they've had to do. It is a sad thing, because I know some of my decals and some of my, you know, sort of applied graphics to some of the vehicles have actually disappeared, so, you know, this temporary change won't actually sort of fix anything in reality. Unfortunately, what it does do is restrict the use of digits and ready-made full numbers and some inscription decals. So those custom and wacky things you like creating, say goodbye to them. I just feel like the game has lost its soul and a bit of its integrity. Chat was a major function of that. I understand they are a private company, they can do and enforce as they like. Obviously, with the rules and the temporary restrictions, in order to protect our players against liability from recent adopted laws in some European countries, we are temporarily restricting the use of certain decals for War Thunder newcomers. Unfortunately, it has bugged up. It doesn't also restrict for newcomers, it's also for older accounts as well. I've had most of my aircraft wiped clean of any digits they did have. And then they go post this random-ass devblog announcement in regard to temporary limiting available of digits and decals and ready-made hull numbers and inscription decals to newer players. Any new players that register an account after this announcement will not see any of the decals listed above in the customization menu. System players that already own these decals, keyword own these decals, will still have them in game and will still be able to use them. The problem with this is I don't purchase all the decals. I don't have a reason to. They were free, they were easy to use, they were available for regular players. Does this also mean that now that they've limited them, and if you haven't purchased them or earned them in some sort of event, that you're now losing access to these things? It's kind of a bit of a restriction. Again, it goes without saying, obviously they restricted the flags back in the day, when 2014 was a thing, earlier crisis, I suppose, where they restricted people's ability to purchase and use flags, and instead they basically removed the purchase cost and replaced it with golden eagles, so therefore you actually have to pay money for your favourite flag. They got around that. I'd like there to be a similar system for this, but I have a feeling there'd be still people paying Gaijin Entertainment to put up these symbols, and so you really can't have any compromise here. I get it, they're a private company, they've got to adhere to laws set by places in Europe and all sorts of other things, but hindsight is 2020 when you think about what the implications of this are. How many times have you gone onto Reddit or social media and you've seen a funny decal post? We've got someone who's got a creative decal and put some interesting placement. Basically kills off that. Now I understand the implications of such, obviously. There is a conflict ongoing and, you know, it's not nice to have your country invaded. Hell, this game obviously is about military vehicles, and they go on to say that we understand and absolutely appreciate your passion for authenticity regarding military vehicles. Full stop. However, recently adopted laws in a number of countries can potentially put certain players at risk. They don't elaborate, they don't talk about what specific laws there are, they haven't mentioned which countries are enforcing these things and which aren't, and it's just an utter mess. And the irritation doesn't stop there. The fact that they've removed chat altogether really brings the soul of the game down. Granted, we're not all saints in chat. A lot of you have your heated gamer moments and obviously say some very insensitive things. But removal of chat was basically an isolation technique that they were using. They didn't want to get in trouble because people were talking about conflicts in various ways, and obviously being rather toxic towards each other. And obviously this is risk management, so you know, they either get fined or shut down in key markets, or the game closes completely. And honestly, for what it's worth, I'd rather have a game than not actually have a game. Granted, how many times have we envisioned that War Thunder would shut down and we'd all, like, move on with our lives? It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is the laws aren't new. It's always been forbidden to publicly support criminal behaviour, like the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And as such, you know, it brings unwarranted politics into the video game, which Gaijin Entertainment has remained apolitical on most things, despite having, you know, minor controversies regarding, you know, sponsoring certain content creators that have access to BMPs. Anyhow, and then there's obviously the flag controversy that I mentioned earlier. Regardless, it isn't just something that they can restrain certain words or phrases, because obviously smart enough people get around the filters that Gaijin will try and implement. So the easiest solution for them was to outright just remove chat, and now they're obviously doing a similar thing, which decals can be used as a form of a communication. It's a visual identification, right? So there's no hard way about this, because obviously people were abusing each other in chat, and you know, it is what it is. Maybe Gaijin Entertainment should just say or publish on all their social medias, how about you all stop putting Z's and swastikas on your fucking tanks? We don't want to be sued. That's probably a better analogy for this whole entire controversy. After all, 2020 is a year where we're all at risk of pixelated symbols in a video game where we shoot and kill each other in violent and fiery explosions. Yeah, I exaggerated that a little bit, but still. Nobody dies in War Thunder, they just get knocked unconscious. Key point. Anyhow, to be more serious here, we all just want to play video games, and developers just want to make games, so better than Gaijin Entertainment spending a lot of time debating whether or not they could have these symbols in their video game in a liable court, or due justice, or something and something. You gotta remember that war brings nothing but death and destruction, so it's probably better that they just remove the decals and obviously disable chat. Because, well, you know, it's better to shoot each other in video games, right? The only next step that I can see in the foreseeable future as this conflict goes on is maybe they'll just end up by removing custom battles. Like, what is the next stage to this sort of progression here? Maybe the next step for them is to remove custom battles, or to remove decals altogether, or to remove content creator decals, or to remove custom skins, make the game less functional and just have bland green and blue army tanks, right? Like little green and blue armymen, right? But I don't think that would really do us any good, considering that would remove the somewhat historical nature of this video game. And yeah, it's not ideal, but we can at least play a video game, even though I don't like playing War Thunder currently, because there is no fun, engaging, team communicative and funny moments like there used to be years back. As the old saying goes, the snail giveth and the snail taketh away, but most importantly, the snail does taketh away. And there could be worse things out of the outcome with this, like the game couldn't be available in Germany and some of you might not be able to play it anymore. Or the game might not be available in Latvia or Kyrgyzstan or some of the other places where some of this ruling has affected. Maybe Gaijin Entertainment should publish a list of affected decals, that way we can actually sort of, you know, see what has been lost. But I don't think that's really going to be a thing. Because the moment they don't ban certain decals and don't tell us which ones have been removed, is the moment people try and exploit, and then the cycle continues and we just end up with no decals at all. So, you know, we're playing a fucking video game, for fuck's sake. This is just ridiculous, you know? There were posts when the war first started. Is War Thunder going to be shut down? No. And to those of you who keep saying that you keep playing War Thunder, and War Thunder is a Russian game, let me remind you that War Thunder hasn't been based out of Russia since 2014. Its headquarters has been in Hungary. And in Hungary, Cyprus, Karlsruhe in Germany. They've got offices in Latvia as well. So that whole argument of them, you know, not playing, you're boycotting a game because you don't want to play it because it's Russian is quite funny. Sure, some of the developers are still in Russia, but that's not the main offices anymore. I think that's something that you really need to point out, because I'm quite sick of responding to comments where people just accuse Gaijin Entertainment of being, well, one for the other. They just want their game to be played by players, enjoyed by the players, and as a consequence we now have to deal with this. So this is the world we live in. While I am disappointed about this sort of thing, I don't have an issue with it, really. Aside from the fact that, well, chat isn't back yet, and I do miss that. Anyhow, you've been updated. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. In fact, no, don't, because the comments will be turned off if it gets too spicy. Behave yourself, or else. I'm watching you.